right. Aloha. Welcome to our session today on orchestrating multiple processes and flows with platform events. So I grew up in Hawaii. Tell by my Hawaiian shirt here. And the concept of ohana, or family, is something that actually drew me to Salesforce in the first place. And it's something in Hawaii, the ohana, or family, is something that people take very seriously. We're actually going to extend that concept today. And if you are any part of the over 100 billion processes that we execute every month in the Flow engine, then you are part of our Flow HANA. Now, what is Flow HANA? Well, platform events dude, Flow HANA. Guy with crazy beard, Flow HANA. And do we have any Flown addicts out there in the audience? Can you throw me a shaka? Yeah, that's right. You are Flow HANA too. So I've said it a couple times. Let's make sure you got it. What are we?
Flow HANA.
That's it. So let's introduce a few people in our Flow HANA. I'm Jason. I'm the PM for the process engine. With me here is Jay. Jay is the PM for platform events. And we have Nate Bigbeard. He is the senior dev on our process engine team. So now that we've established that we're all family, let's talk about something that everybody in the Flow HANA pays attention to, and that is the kuhi kuhi mua. The kuhi kuhi mua basically states that you are not allowed to purchase anything without first consulting our current product catalog when you make that purchasing decision. So with that out of the way, let's talk about flows, experiences, processes, and platform events. Today's customer expects seamless experiences. You want to be able to get that update on your watch, replace your credit card by tapping on your mobile phone, or perhaps order something just by talking to Alexa. I have a really good example of this. I actually recently returned an Amazon order. I tapped the order refund on my phone, printed that out, slapped the label on the box, took the box to UPS. UPS went ahead and scanned the label, and as soon as they scanned it, I got my refund as being processed. That's an example of the kind of seamless experience the customers are expecting. Now, when you want to look at one of these seamless experiences, what you realize is that in order to build one, you actually need to back it with a process. Behind every one of these seamless experiences is a process. Something as simple as, I need to replace my credit card, where you think, well, I just go on the phone, tap on replace my credit card, get the update on my watch, and it ships out, we're good to go. It's actually not that simple, is it? Anybody who's had to build one of these knows that behind that simple experience is a process. Is the card damaged? Is it stolen? If it's damaged, fine, confirm the address, ship it out. If it's stolen, then you have to dispute the transactions, resolve all of those, consider where you can ship it out. Maybe you're traveling internationally. That address isn't correct. You got to use a different address, ship it out there. So there's actually a fair amount of complexity that you have to build in behind a simple, engaging experience. And the complexity is actually a process. Now, when we talk to our customers about building out processes, we actually heard that most companies struggle to automate these processes. They don't want that disconnected experience with the forms and everything on the left-hand side. They want that seamless automated experience around the customer. What does it take to actually do that? Well, you have to integrate systems. That takes time. You have to create process logic. That takes code. You have to build that beautiful UX. More time. And then you have to add every touch point that you actually want that UX to interact with. More code. It's a lot of work, and it's pretty complicated. So with that in mind, here at TDX this year, we launched Lightning Flow. Now, what is Lightning Flow? Lightning Flow is declarative process automation for every Salesforce app, experience, and portal. It's built on our current process engine, which I said is very stable. It runs over 100 billion executions of processes every month. It leverages two builders. We have Process Builder as well as our Visual Flow, which is done with Cloudflow Designer. And recently it started leveraging Lightning components that you can embed inside the flows to create a really engaging visual experience. The steps to build these are pretty straightforward. First, you want to build out a process with these reusable Lightning components, because then you can get the visually engaging experience. These processes that you've built with reusable components are in and of themselves reusable as well. You take those processes and you embed them in different visual places that you want to be able to use them. For example, the Lightning portal, which is part of a community portal, as you see on the mobile phone there, or possibly the Lightning Service Console, as you see in the middle screen there. When you have these processes embedded, you want to make sure that they connect to all the different third-party systems that you want to integrate with. It's actually one of the things we're talking about here today, and I'm going to talk about integration on my next slide. Once you've had these connected to your systems, you're good to go. A lot of our customers then ask, well, I want to reduce that time to market. I need to kickstart this. I need to get it going quicker. And that's where the lightning bolt solutions come in. Lightning bolts are basically packages of preset processes that have been made for you by our SI partners that you can then download from the ActiveExchange. So that's how you reduce that time to market, kickstart the implementation. But we're here today to talk about integration. So let's do that. Besides Invocable Apex, there's a couple different ways that you can actually integrate flows with your third-party systems. The first is by staying local. Our Flow Actions pilot actually allows you to go ahead and use the browser to connect to a third-party system directly, typically in a scenario that's inside your firewall, because that can be a concern for some people. The second way to do it is what we call direct to external. This is leveraging external services. You can basically make direct third-party calls, third-party system calls, that you leverage the API, Open API or Swagger framework. The third is through pub-sub architecture or platform events. And that's what we're going to be drilling in on today. And then finally, you can actually use browser actions and apps, which are also part of a Flow Action pilot, to go ahead and open up third-party apps inside your browser as well. But you guys are all here to hear about platform events. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the third point here. Platform events, event-driven architecture, enables you to have real-time, at least in the asymptotic sense of real-time, integrations. And this asymptotically real-time integration allows you to connect different business processes to create that seamless experience across systems that you so desire. The event-driven workflows can leverage things like metadata, CRM data, intelligence, big objects, to basically create events that can then trigger downstream logic for your different systems. Now, you may be saying to yourself, wow, that sounds like a lot of events flying back and forth, and you'd be right. That's the whole point. You can actually capture and act on millions of streaming events leveraging the Platform Event Service Bus. And in point of fact, the Platform Event Service Bus has been built for enterprise scale. Jay is going to be talking about that in a couple of minutes here. Now, I've pretty much used every acronym you can to describe what is a modern current architecture of a pub-sub setup. A lot of the questions I then get are, well, so we have this great technology, what exactly do we use it for? That is a really good question. There are a number of use cases here for platform events. The first one, which is pretty obvious, is the IoT use case. An IoT device can actually trigger and publish a platform event. In point of fact, the Salesforce IoT Cloud leverages both platform events and flows as part of its solution. Devices trigger, publish platform events. Platform events then trigger actions. Those actions are actually flows. The IoT Explorer that you've heard about is actually built on top of the Flow engine. It's a very powerful use case. There's a couple other examples. You can leverage Salesforce with, say, an account object can do a publish to the events. Third-party systems and apps can basically have event triggers that publish to platform events as well. On the subscription side of things, you can use a subscription to kick off a marketing journey. You could use a platform event subscription to trigger mobile alerts. You can even use a platform subscription to update a case if you so wish. In fact, the demo that we're going to be showing you today leverages 3 of these use cases. We're actually going to be using the Salesforce system to publish a platform event. We'll have a third-party system publish a response via the platform event. And then the subscription will actually cause a case update as part of that as well. But enough background. Let's go ahead and have a look at the demo that we're showing you to get you a good sense of what this is all about. So when you talk about orchestrating multiple flows and processes with platform events, what you're really talking about is taking a complex business problem or business process and then decomposing it down into its component parts and then leveraging the asynchronous nature of platform events to drive you toward your solution. So in this demo today, we're going to be showing you what is basically a car repair service example. So it's an example that a lot of people can understand. Let's say you want to take your car in to get it repaired. Well, as we all know, you're going to need a certain number of parts in order to repair your car. You can't actually repair your car until all those parts show up. So what we're going to be demoing is an example where we're going to use a lightning flow with a dynamic visual to create a repair order. That repair order will then create a set of platform events, which our third-party part supplier will be subscribed to. They get all the events in, but they can't fulfill them all at once, obviously, right? Because they're a fulfillment center. So as they fulfill each part order, there's a process builder process that will go ahead and update the case for each order as it gets fulfilled. When all 3 of the parts are finally fulfilled, then you can go ahead and move forward to actually schedule that service. And that's what the chatter post is all about. It's a bit complex. Platform events happen very quickly, and they tend to happen in the background. So I just wanted to give an overview of what we're going to be seeing. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Nate. Nate, let her rip.
So as Jason was saying, we have our account here, and they call in and they need their car repaired. So we go ahead and click on the button, and it brings up a list of their cars. We can go ahead and hit next, and we created a case. If we look inside that case, we can see that there are, in fact, 3 parts that are needed. The shim kit happened to be in stock, so it's already fulfilled. And if we go out to the warehouse, there is this Heroku app, which lists the parts that are needed. In the background, one of the things you didn't see is that those parts got ordered, and now the warehouse is just waiting for those boxes to come in. So let's go ahead and say the brake rudder gasket set, it comes in. The guys in the warehouse can hit the fulfilled button. If we go look to the gasket set, it's now fulfilled. Now, we can now go ahead and fulfill the last part. These things typically don't happen at the same time. You order a bunch of parts, they typically don't come in at once. So we have a little process builder flow that now, once all the parts are ready, we change it to ready, and we posted to chatter that all parts are available. You can call the customer and schedule the event. Now, what you don't see behind the scene is there are a whole bunch of events getting fired, and we'll get to those a little bit later in the demo.
Great, thanks, Nate.
Let me get you back to the presentation.
Even better. So what we showed there was, it happened very quick. So it might be a little, okay?
We're good.
It might be a little hard to imagine what's actually happening in that. We're definitely going to drill into the flow a little more. We'll see the bits and pieces that are happening in the background. But what we wanted to do real quick is actually do a quick explanation of what platform events are. I know that a lot of you probably have already heard a talk that I've given before, or you've read about it, or you heard about it. It's a kind of a new feature that we came out with about a year ago. The idea behind platform events is allow our customers and our internal teams to begin to use event-driven architecture across the Salesforce platform itself. So we're not really reinventing the wheel here. We're not building something new. It's a very traditional pattern of hub and sub, kind of almost like an ESB. But we're doing it in a way that really scales to the multi-tenant nature of our system, which is a pretty complex problem. But as we started looking at this, one of the goals we had is how do we make platform events easily adoptable and easily understood by all of our existing admins and existing developers. I didn't want to build a brand new set of features that took 10 years for people to learn and understand how they work. So we really wanted to build it in with our actual entity models that we already had in the system. So if you're creating a platform event, you'll really see that it looks just like a custom object or a standard object. It has the same conceptual overview. It has a shape, it has custom fields that you add to it, has metadata associated with it. And because we've kind of mirrored everything through the common data model, is you can actually act with it against the API. So I can query the metadata, I can see the definitions, I can push updates, all with the existing APIs that you're already used to. The second piece of the event structure is publish and subscribe. So you have a definition of event, now you actually want to create or publish, and you want to subscribe or listen to them. Now, to do this, we also wanted to mimic on top of our existing APIs. So through the APIs, Apex code, or through Process Builder, like we'll see a little bit later, you can actually publish these events just like you would create another record in the system. Subscription works against our existing APIs, where you can receive the events as they're created. And finally, we get into a lot of conversations about when would I use platform events, what are they really suited for, and they kind of start falling into two categories. You get a category of data change events, if you will. I want to know when a record has changed so I can go ahead and process it later, and that's a perfectly valid use case. And then the second set is really about a more heterogeneous concept. I need to know when a graph changed. I'm really interested in cases that get created, but I really want to know when a case is created on an account that has $1 million opportunity, because that's conceptually really important to me. So that's really, really easy to capture inside of an event structure. So, like I said, as we look at what the definition of a platform event will look very similar to a custom object. Biggest difference we can see here is under the API name, have a different suffix, __E, rather than __C. And then you would add custom fields, just like you'd add custom fields to a custom object. The volume up. Can anybody else hear me? Anybody? We'll get there. Thank you. So through the ability to publish, we have the ability to notify these external systems that things have happened. So we have 3 ways to publish events in the system today, either through Apex, through process flow for our admins and our low-code developers, or through the APIs. So a very easy pattern to get the events on the bus. Now, the key here is that regardless of how you create or publish that event, they're all going to the same bus, and they're going to stay in a time-ordered set of information so that they'll flow out in the order that they were created. So if I create one with a process builder, a second with the API, and a third with Apex, they're going to be delivered to my subscribers in that same exact order. So through the process builder and through the designer, which is now called the Cloudflow Designer, you have the ability to create these events, just like you would create another record. So if you wanted to create a platform event here, a low ink record, you could do that on either side. And the key thing that we wanted to call out is on the Cloudflow Designer, you can actually do these as subscription wait nodes, which is a very powerful way to kick off these flows that a lot of people haven't really started exploring it, so keep that in mind. So now we've published these events onto the stream. The next thing is to subscribe to them. Now, with our subscribers, this really highlights the decoupling aspect of what platform events and event-driven architecture gives you. So we have the ability to have multiple subscribers on that same stream, potentially at different points in the stream. So everybody acts independently of each other. They can all subscribe to the same stream, and they all receive the event stream in correct order. The 3 ways that we can subscribe are through our API, using Comet-D as the protocol. You can subscribe through Apex as an Apex trigger, or you can subscribe using Process Builder and Cloudflow Designer. So just like you would create an action that happens off of a record update, you would kick off a flow via an event, either in the Process Builder or the Designer. And finally, as we start to look at some of the myriad of use cases that are out there, a lot of the questions I get is, okay, well, how much does this scale? How many events can I push per day? By default, what we have in the standard volume events that is GA right now, you can publish up to 100,000 events an hour, and you can receive up to in the low millions, I'd say, 2 to 3 millions a day externally through Comet-D. What we're building with high volume platform events is moving it onto a completely different architecture on the background so we can get to a significantly larger scale. We will be using Kafka for this, so anybody that's using Kafka understands the difference in scale there. We're really looking to support the tens and potentially hundreds of millions of events per day per customer. So we are in pilot with that now. If you're interested, please let me know. We can get you signed up. We're looking for a GA in the winter timeframe. And with that, we'll hand it back to Nate for a deep dive into how does all of that actually play out in the demo.
So this is all going to be set up in code. So this is a developer conference, right? So we'll start with the flow. And what we can do is look at the create repair case. And while this is going, I'm just going to get ahead of myself here. So as we mentioned earlier, we can create an event here. And this is actually creating a record create. But you see the, maybe, let me see. Option scroll, do you remember?
Command plus.
There we go. So is that better? Okay. So you see, as Jay was saying, this ends with an E. But all we did was your standard flow to go ahead and no, jeez. There we go. And then we added a field to it, in this case, just the case ID. But then what do we do with that event? We went to Process Builder. Who likes Process Builder? Oh, we need more. So we are now going to handle that, and what we do here is we can see that we just listen for the event, and then we say what procedure we want, and that just has an ID that was part of the event that we can match up and do a lookup with. So.
And I think one thing to call out here is as we look at what's actually starting that flow, it's a combination of a platform event, which in this case is the repair order, the part order, and it's paired with an actual record in Salesforce, in this case, the repair procedure. So the event gets kicked off, but we really want to latch it onto an actual record. What's it going to be acting on to kick those flows off downstream?
And of course, the easiest way to do this would be to have the ID of the record in your event, but if you don't have the ID, you have a name or something, you can use any fields you can normally use in Process Builder to matching on it. So you do not need to have it, just, and then we showed you the little warehouse app before, and this is actually really simple because I did what any good developer does and I Googled it. And anyone know Jeff Douglas? Yeah, great. He had already written something to listen to subscriptions, so all the Comet D stuff was done already, and I could just go ahead and write the part I cared about the event, which is the event handling. And in this case, all I had to do was a couple config things I'll show you in a second. But what I did to create an event is just using enforce, create an S object like any other S object, go ahead and set my ID and insert it. That's right. So really like 3 lines of code. And the listening for the events was even easier because there's this config.js, and this is running in Heroku, so I was just able to set the config variables. I'm not going to show you my password, sorry. But all I had to do was say, listen to this part. So, one config file, 3 lines of code, and I am listening and firing events from Node running on Heroku. So any questions I can go in deeper on? Not, I'll hand it back to the product team, but we'll answer questions at the end. Go ahead, you can step in the microphone.
To subclass those events, is it just like this S object with a record type?
We don't support record types. Jay, you can answer this better.
We don't. So there's no real concept of subclassing in that respect. Every event that you create.
I thought I heard the word subclass.
Oh, no. No. Every event that you create gets its own unique channel on our stream. So in this case, where we created one called repair order, there's a new topic called /event/repair order. And that's where all of these will go. If you had a need of saying, okay, well, I want this specific event to only go to specific clients, the pattern would be to create a new event type and just create a new event.
Right. And so the new event type, is that a different S object then, just like?
It's a different event object. So they're not an S object. There is a little bit of nuance
I
there.
know,
But
I'm
okay.
trying to just wrap my head around
Yeah,
it.
they look very
What's it
similar.
to?
Very similar, exactly. So I think as we looked at what that demo is doing, if we kind of just take a step back, when we go ahead and create that case and we place those repair orders in the related list, those are shooting out one platform event each. Basically say I need part A, part B, part C. The Heroku app is listening for that. As it receives them, it puts up which ones that it needs to fulfill on the Heroku app. And then as the button is clicked that, hey, we've now got part A in, what it does is it fires another event back into the system that the flow builder is listening to. So you get this two-way interaction, both out of Salesforce and back into Salesforce through platform events.
It's really hard to see because our eyes aren't quick enough, but multiple events are firing at the same time, and as Jay mentioned earlier, the system just keeps them in order for you. So we're gonna...
We'll take questions at the end,
we'll
sorry.
finish up, sorry, yeah. but
Sorry about that. We're almost
Yeah.
done. We don't have a whole lot left
Yeah.
to show you. We can have plenty of time for questions. So, for those of you who were not aware of our new branding for what previously was termed Force.com, we've now moved to Lightning Platform, and a lot of our integration pieces that will be eventually collapsing into the integration cloud are folded into this brand called Connect. So that's what my teams own. And that includes Connect Data, which is the former Salesforce Connect product for OData. It includes Platform Event, Change Data Capture, all of our enterprise APIs, and the Data Integration Hub. So this is a short list of what our roadmap looks like for the next couple releases here. The key thing to highlight for Platform Events is on that high volume. We're in pilot right now. We'll be in beta in the summer, and I'm really targeting the GA for this winter release. So at that point, we should have the ability to handle any volume that you need against your CRM data. With that, I'll hand it back over. All right, Jason.
So we also have a lot of exciting stuff coming out for Lightning Flow. In our spring release, which is, we actually have the ability to do pause flow process handoffs, so that works well in sort of teams where you actually have to pause the flow and hand it out to somebody. Also, customer could pause the flow and somebody could pick it up, leveraging the sharing rules. We also have the capability to do flow stages, so these dynamic path components where basically the stages can actually change as you walk yourself down a branch of the flow and reflect that visually back to the customer. We also GA'd Lightning Components or flow screens. Like I said, that's a lot of the engaging visual experiences we've been talking about. And of course, under Safe Harbor, for summer, we've got even more exciting stuff coming. We actually have a lot of, it's not mentioned up there, but we're actually fixing a lot of the error messaging issues with Process Builder. I know a lot of people have raised that. Thank you. And then we actually it's pretty exciting. Nate has demoed it a couple times at TDX this year. We actually have a flow debugger that we're introducing as part of summer as well. And that'll also help with some of the troubleshooting needs that you guys have. We're actually also going to be providing a pilot around our next best action feature, which will then go GA in the winter release. And that's pretty powerful when you want to use rules or analytics and strategies to actually tell you what the next best action would be in a process or a flow that you're going through. We're actually going to be piloting our new flow builder, in winter as well. And then finally, we're hoping to get more monitoring and sort of telemetry around flows and processes themselves, so you get more information in terms of how they're operating, things like that. So a lot of exciting stuff coming. Look forward to telling you more about it as time goes on. We actually had quite a number of sessions on Lightning Flow at TDX this year. Like I said, we launched it, so basically there's all these different sessions. If you missed any of them, be sure to check out the recordings afterwards, including this one, and share it around. Same goes for integration. We did a lot of good work on integration here, and we've had a number of sessions both yesterday and today, so please check out those recordings as well. And with that, I'm going to say, mahalo. Thank you for joining us today. And my parting words are, go forth and integrate. There's a lot of ways to do with platform events, and that's the way you should handle all the flows. And with that, we're available for Q&A, and please step up to the microphone if you have any questions.
One of the things that I have trouble wrapping my head around with platform events is error handling, because I'm coming from the admin side and I've built some integrations, but they're very much like there's a field on there like success, complete, write back, complete, that kind of stuff, which you don't do. So it's like, just conceptually, it's like all the error handling is handled on the subscriber side, basically. Like you just, success for a platform event is it's published, you're done. So then, like, how do you make sure that everything's working right? Do you see what I'm saying?
I think this is kind of a common design pattern around event-driven architecture. The part of the idea is you want to actually decouple your publishers and your subscribers because you don't want that interdependency and that point-to-point integration. So absolutely, you're right. It is divided. So on the publish, you'll receive errors if we can't publish that event for one reason or another. And on the subscriber side, it's really about managing what that specific subscriber is hitting at time of failure. In terms of how we're looking at monitoring, we do have the ability to do Apex and Process Builder debugging through the debugging tools. We are looking at a couple of additional ways where we can pre-notify if something has actually gone wrong, if the Apex class or if the Process Builder has actually failed, how do we let you know proactively? So that will be coming out over some stuff in summer, some stuff in the future. And then starting to look at what are some of the recommended patterns for that, such as in your Apex class or in your process builder, having a specific set of instructions that kind of capture and manage those errors for you as you come in. As far as external subscribers, we don't have a lot of control or leverage points around there. You do have to manage that, but I think it's a great point. It's something that we can continue to invest in.
Or just like kind of documentation of what it's called or what to search for to
Absolutely.
figure out how people are handling that.
Okay, great.
It's something I just couldn't figure out myself.
It's magic.
Yeah.
Nothing ever fails when we develop.
One pattern I've seen is write something that just listens for everything and publishes writes just to like a log line, everything that gets in. And then when you're not debugging, you turn that off, it costs you nothing, right? And then when you connect and start logging, then that's when it's going to cost you.
And we have a lot of, internally when we're doing things like this, it's a lot of tracer events.
Yeah.
So periodically sending an event in that will be able to travel through the end-to-end flow so you can have something to track against. Where that specific event, maybe it has a specific flag checked on it that when it hits process, we send an email notifying that, hey, it's reached here. So it is a lot of more conceptual tracking around your live stream, right?
How will Salesforce monetize these events? Will it be like API counts or
For every event you send, just send me $1.
Yeah.
U.S. currency?
US works. I'll take euros.
Yeah.
I'm not greedy.
No Bitcoin.
No Bitcoin. Well, I'll take Bitcoin too. I don't care. The way it works today is we're kind of modeling it on a freemium basis. So if you're an enterprise edition or an unlimited edition or platform events are just they're available as part of your subscription. What you get is you get a 100,000 per hour publishing limit, and you get a certain number of those external events a day based on your license. Enterprise gets 25,000 a day, unlimited gets 50,000 a day. And then for monetization, we sell additional packs of 100K per day if you need more events sent to an external client.
Right, like kind of like the API calls.
Exactly.
Sometimes when you turn something on, you have to kind of overuse your API limit, to get that first level of data synchronization done, and then
Absolutely.
over time it goes back down to some nominal level. Will this be the same kind of thing?
I think it's a loaded question. It depends on what you're actually trying to do with it. If you're using events to do large-scale data ingestion, a day zero type of ingestion, I would say that probably fits a bulk pattern more than it fits an event pattern. We can definitely work with you if it's a case of, hey, I need 10x my events for a 3-week period. We can look at courtesy contracts and things like that. Longer term, we flashed it on the roadmap. We are looking at how we can provide a soft limits framework for all of these types of limits so that if you hit the limit and you need extra service, we can give it to you. We're not going to charge you for it. And we only look to charging you for it if it's something that happens regularly. If it happens once a quarter, it's not going to hurt us. No reason to charge you for it. And we don't want to bring you to a stop if we don't have to. So that will be coming, a little bit better interaction around that over the next year.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
In terms of the error handling, supposing you had a flow and you published an event at the beginning of the flow, and then something bad happened, like such that you really, the transaction kind of blew up in the middle of it, do you need to sort of publish another event, like in an error handling routine, to say, forget it, that message I just sent, like it's no longer good? Or is there transactional scope to that, where that message won't really get pushed out to the bus? You see what I'm saying?
No, I know. I see exactly. I can answer that for Apex. I don't quite know how the transactionality is bounded in flows. In Apex, for instance, when you make the Apex event bus.publish call, that event is instantly sent. It's in its own transaction. It's in a separate asynchronous flow, so it's completely separated from your original Apex transaction. If you roll back your Apex transaction, that event does not get rolled back.
Right.
There's a couple ways to handle it in that case, where you can either emit a new event, like you said, hey, ignore event that came in last, or you can actually emit your event publish in and at future, because at futures will be bounded in the transactional context, and it can roll back if needed.
Right.
With
But
flows,
It's pretty
the
much
same thing. It's
same
basically
thing.
the same code. If a subscriber is listening and receives the event, that is taken off the bus. It's not replayed.
So once you publish it, it's gone. See you.
Yes. Yep.
okay.
Okay, great, thanks.
what does it happen for the flow? Like, so if something happens on the flow, is it going to retry the flow?
No, generally not. I mean,
Okay, so
unless it's
the operator.
the retry logic is like if we fail to receive this, the actual underlying network fails, not if your flow fails.
Okay. From the Apex side, is it?
From Apex, you can do Apex retry. So if it does throw a
Right.
retryable, you can retry the event. Once you hit the retry limit, we skip the event. We're not going to continue to keep retrying it. As far as kind of the interaction from an admin side on this, we're looking to add the ability to resubscribe with Apex from a different point in the stream. Right now, when you resubscribe, it goes to the tip. We want to give you the ability to, I know event 100 failed. I'm now on event 105. Maybe I want to go back and replay from 101. We want to give you that ability. There's some concerns around performance there because I don't want Apex having to chew through 1 billion events and when somebody accidentally says -2. So we're figuring out the right way to do that. Longer term, we'll look at how we can layer that into Process Builder as well. With the concepts of events as, hey, something has happened and we want to take action on this, that also means at a certain point that action is stale and we need a reconciliation. And I think that should be part of your design pattern as well. What happens if your event stream goes down for a while, or if your process builder breaks, or if it's just, I had the wrong code doing something for a bit of time. How do you recover from that? And that should be part of any asynchronous pattern that you need to build, is what happens when things get so out of whack that I need to reconcile.
Final question. When you're actually now going to large data volume for events and going to Kafka, is there a plans to connect to Heroku Kafka?
There's always plans. I don't have it in the short term. We have the ability to do it. Heroku Kafka was actually going to be our initial go forward with this. We brought our own internal Kafka online for really for some of the MSA reasons. We want to keep it in our data center. Heroku Kafka as a destination is something we're looking into. Right now, it's pretty trivial to connect these things together, to have a Heroku app that subscribes and republishes. So there's workarounds for it. We want to make that as smooth as possible. But it does also build into what is the Heroku Connect 2.0 strategy. How do we play in that very easily, and how do we kind of enhance the feature set across the board? So the answer is yes-ish.
Here.
A question on the high volume platform events. Do I take one of you for a lunch or dinner to be part of the pilot?
If you're interested in the pilot, you can talk with me, talk with your account exec. We can get you enabled.
Yeah, we initiated process, but jokes aside, we are dealing with high volume events. Our requirement is outbound about 1 million, inbound 500 to 1 million into the sales force.
Okay.
We reached out to our program architect as well as AE. I'm not sure if that reached you guys, but I'm happy to provide additional details.
Yeah, I can give you my card, and you can just loop me in on the email, and we'll figure out how to get you enabled.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm actively looking for customers now. So we got about 20 customers in the pilot right now. I'd like to get that to 50 or 75 in the summer.
Yeah, I work for IBM, and in fact, the customer is also IBM.
Okay,
So,
perfect. Love to have you guys on board.
All right, well, mahalo again. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy
And
the rest of your DX.
Yeah, here's the rest of DX.
May the force be with you.
I gotta circle around. I have a bad wheel right now, so.